Americans have mixed emotions about greed. In a new 60 Minutes Vanity Fair poll, only 19% agree with Gordon Gekko from that movie Wall Street. You remember the line, greed is good. 78% disagree with him. Jordan Belfort came out on top for the greediest film character in The Wolf of Wall Street, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. He's ahead of Ebenezer Scrooge, Cruella de Vil, and The Grinch. Bankers and brokers, though, do not lead the list of the greediest professions. Mike Hogan is digital director for Vanity Fair. Good morning to you, Michael Hogan.
Good morning, Neil.
That was a bit of a surprise, wasn't it, that bankers and brokers didn't lead?
It is a surprise until you see who's ahead of them. Lobbyists, lawyers, and agents. And I think, you know, in this list we see people who don't really create anything or produce anything. They kind of just profit off of the system. So I guess
that's what they have in common.
Yeah, that's what it seems to me.
So lobbyists go hand in hand with politicians, and the poll finds that 80% believe politicians are motivated by greed more than good. Wow. Right before tomorrow's election.
Yeah, it's not a good sign about people's confidence in our nation's leaders. And you see that in the president's polls. You see it in Congress's polls. 80% of people think that politicians are just in it for the money. And maybe when somebody like Eric Cantor leaves the public sector and cashes in, that may reinforce that. I'm not sure.
And 50% believe that someone who's greedy is more likely to succeed than someone who is selfless.
But we had an interesting ideological divide on this one. 53% of Democrats and independents thought that greedy people succeeded more. But Republicans were more likely to think that selfless people were successful. So I don't know if it's a question of self-image, if it's the way they like to see the world. But that was an interesting divide.
And then you talked about celebrities selling their wedding photos or their baby photos. Is that a greedy move, or is that just a smart move?
Yeah, people thought it was more greedy than smart by a 59% to 35% margin. But you and I were talking about this. They may not understand that. I think for a lot of celebrities, it's to try to control, or at least the celebrities say, is to control the access, try and reduce the number of paparazzi running around in the woods with telephoto lenses. It's kind of like, these are going to be the pictures.
Well, they literally are hunted. I still say Sarah Jessica and Matthew Broderick did it best. They said, we're coming out at this time. You can take your picture. Everybody gets a photo and then just leave us alone. I thought that was genius how they handled it.
Well, and when somebody like George Clooney gives all the money away to charity, it suggests that it really is more about controlling the situation than cashing in.
What do people think when they see a younger woman with an older man?
It's no big deal. Apparently, 53%. 38% say she's interested in him for his money. 8% said he's his father, and nobody said they're in love. So
how come you didn't ask the question about an older woman with a younger man? You know,
that's a valid point. I think next year when we do this poll, I'm going to tell them to add that question in.
I'm wondering what the results of that would be.
The poll also asks people about their own greed. What did you find?
Well, you know, if you're at dinner and you find out someone else is going to pick up the tab, we ask them, what would you do? And would you order something more expensive? Would you order something less expensive? Would you order what you were going to order anyway? Only 3% admitted to getting something more expensive. I have a feeling that number rises in the actual fact when they're not being no one's looking over their shoulder. But most people clearly think that it's not a cool thing to order.
I like the
something
question
more
about if you won $5,000 at the blackjack table, what do you do? Do you fold? Do you split it and go for more? Or do you lay it all on the line?
Yeah, and again, we have a question where it's unclear what people say they do. Is that really what they would do? But only 3% said I would put the $5,000 on, you know, red or on.
What would you do? You'd go for it.
Good for it.
I say a bird in the hand. I'm folding. I'm out of there. Yeah,
I'm out of there.
Thank you, Mike Hogan. Nora, what would you do?
I don't know. I'm not a gambler, so
okay.
I don't know.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'm folded. Mike Hogan, thanks. Mike Hogan, thanks. I didn't mean to holler that. More results. Mike Hogan, thank you.
Thank you.
More results of the 60 Minutes Vanity Fair poll can be found in the December issue of the magazine and online.